He never touched her, never spoke to her, never looked at her, until he saw another man's name on her phone. And suddenly, the husband who treated her like furniture wanted to burn the world down. But when he tried to replace her like she was nothing, she did the one thing he never saw coming. She walked away and forced a man who never claimed her to finally fight for what he thought he owned. Welcome to the channel, lovelies. Please like and subscribe. It was 11:47 p.m. when Celine made the mistake of leaving her bedroom. The penthouse hallway stretched before her like a bridge she crossed every night, the walk from their shared space to her solitary one. 12 weeks of marriage, and this had become their ritual. Avoidance dressed up as routine. But tonight, he was standing there, blocking her path to safety. In his hand, her phone. She didn't remember leaving it in the living room, didn't remember him ever caring enough to notice what she left behind. But the screen was lit, a message notification glowing like evidence at a crime scene, and his face. God, his face was a mixture of something she'd never seen before. He didn't ask permission, just backed her against the wall, not violently but inescapably, his body a barrier between her and the bedroom door that represented the only peace she knew anymore. "Who is Daniel?" His voice was low, controlled, lethal. Confusion hit first, then recognition. Her ex-boyfriend from graduate school. Sweet Daniel who used to bring her coffee during finals. Daniel who existed in a world before contracts and cold shoulders and sleeping alone in a mansion full of expensive things but empty of warmth. "That's none of your business." His grip tightened on the phone. Not on her, never on her, because that would require acknowledging she was something worth touching. He read aloud, each word a small detonation. "I still think about what we had. If you ever need anything, I'm here." He looked at her, and she saw something dangerous swimming beneath the ice. "How long?" "How long what?" "How long have you been talking to him?" The silence that followed was suffocating. The hallway felt smaller. She could see the vein in his neck pulsing, could count her own heartbeats in the space between them. His jaw clenched, and she waited for whatever was coming next. "Answer me." And something inside her broke. Not gently, not quietly. "One text, one." 3 nights ago, when you were gone for 72 hours without a word, and I was sitting in this empty penthouse wondering if I even exist to you." His face didn't soften. It hardened, like watching water turn to ice in real time. "You exist as my wife." Her laugh was bitter, broken, the sound of something dying. "Do I? Because for 12 weeks you've made it very clear I'm just a contract. You don't get to reach out to other men." He was still caging her against the wall, and she could feel the heat of him, this man who'd been nothing but cold. "And you don't get to act jealous when you've spent 3 months treating me like a business transaction." Something shifted in his expression, a crack in the armor. "He doesn't get to comfort you. He doesn't get to tell you he's there for you. He doesn't, but you can ignore me. You can leave for days. You can introduce me as the arrangement at every family dinner. This is different. Why? Because you suddenly care? Because you're mine." The words hung between them, and she deployed her weapon. "Am I? Then why have you never once touched me? Why do you flinch when I walk into a room? Why do I sleep alone every single night in a house with my husband?" He had no answer, because she was right, and they both knew it. "You don't get to claim me when it's convenient and discard me when it's not. You don't own me just because our family signed papers." He stepped closer, invading what little space she had left, his voice dropping to something almost vulnerable. "You will not contact him again." "Or what? You'll finally acknowledge I exist?" She pushed past him. Not dramatically, just done. finished with a conversation that should have happened weeks ago but was happening too late. "We're not finished," he called after her. She didn't turn around. "We never even started." The door closed, and he was alone in the hallway, holding her phone like it might contain answers he didn't know how to find. For the first time in 12 weeks, he felt something other than control. Panic. He stood there, remembering. The arrangement had been simple. His family needed legitimacy, her family needed money. IM Group, one of Seoul's most powerful organizations with connections that didn't appear on any official paperwork, joining forces with the Michaels, Nigerian oil magnates with European political ties. Asian distribution routes plus African resources plus Western legitimacy equaled an unstoppable empire. His board had told him he was 34, unmarried, and the shareholders questioned his stability. Marry the Michael girl. She'd been told he was powerful, that she'd be protected, that her family's European debt would disappear. The wedding had been private, sterile. He hadn't written vows, just recited standard lines in monotone. In the car afterward, he'd told her he didn't believe in love, that this was strategy, not to expect anything else. She nodded. She'd been warned he was cold. She didn't know he'd be absent. 12 weeks of nothing. Separate bedrooms because it was practical. Dinners she cooked that he ate at the office. Conversations she attempted, but he said he had meetings at exactly that time. His brother asking about children, him responding that it would happen when strategically viable. She stopped trying. She stayed in her room for 3 days and he didn't even notice. Him leaving for a business trip that was really just avoidance, and her, finally, texting Daniel. But here's what he'd never told her. The first time he saw her at the contract signing, something in his chest moved. She'd walked in wearing an elegant dress, her dark skin luminous, her hair in twists with gold accessories. Stunning. And when she'd signed her name, Celine Michael, in confident strokes, then looked up at him with intelligent eyes, something shifted. Movement was a weakness in his world, so he'd buried it, ignored her, convinced himself indifference was strength, until he saw another man offer her what he refused to give. The next morning, she came down to breakfast with puffy eyes and no sleep. He was there, first time in weeks, and there was someone else. A woman in her late 20s, sharp suit, cold beauty, sitting in Celine's usual chair, drinking coffee like she owned the place, speaking into her phone about eliminating the problem. "This is Park Minji. She'll be staying with us for a while. Business associate." No other explanation. Minji's smile was polite, predatory. "You must be the wife. He's told me so much about you." Which, in other words, meant he'd told her nothing. The next 2 weeks were systematic erasure. Minji was in his office during meetings, at family dinners seated beside him, serving him food, fluent in the business, discussing routes and territory disputes and elimination orders. Everything Celine had never been included in. The contrast was devastating. Celine with her international MBA and civilian politeness, Minji tactical and lethal, and raised in the organization, one of them in a way Celine would never be. The small cruelties accumulated. Minji asked if she should handle the situation personally, and he told her yes, she knew what he needed. Celine sat invisible at her own dining table. At a family meeting at IM Group headquarters, Minji presented a hostile takeover strategy, and he nodded, impressed, saying it was exactly what he was thinking. When Celine suggested something politely, he barely looked up. That's not how this works. Minji effortlessly participated in the business culture, knew all the unspoken rules Selena was still learning. His mother loved Minji. Finally, a proper girl for her son. Week 2 of Minji's presence broke something in Celine. She wasn't just being ignored anymore. She was being replaced by someone who fit his world perfectly, someone he actually respected. The moment she felt it happened at a late dinner. Minji laughed at something he said. He almost smiled, responded. They were having a whole conversation, and Celine realized he'd never smiled at her, not once. She caught a whisper. Minji said she didn't belong here, did she? He responded that it was complicated. Celine heard. That night, she didn't go to her bedroom. She packed a small bag, went to the guest house on the property, and for the first time, he noticed. 2 weeks later, at 1:30 in the morning, Celine couldn't sleep. She went downstairs for water and heard voices in his office. The door cracked open. "You know this is cruel, right?" Minji's voice. "It's necessary." His voice. Celine froze. "She's your wife, cousin. Not some rival you're trying to intimidate. Cousin." The word detonated in Celine's chest. She gripped the counter to steady herself, her entire world tilting on its axis. "I needed to know," he said. "Know what?" If she'd fight for this. If she'd care. If this meant anything to her. Minji sounded disgusted. "So you brought your cousin in to make her jealous? What are you, in high school?" "I saw her texting him, another man, saw her looking at someone else with softness. I needed to see if she'd react if you paraded another woman in front of her. Brilliant strategy, cousin, really." Long silence. "She hasn't reacted at all," he said, defeated. "Because you've spent 3 months teaching her that her feelings don't matter. You've made her feel like an outsider in her own marriage. What did you expect?" Celine pushed the door open. Her voice was ice. "Cousin." Both froze. "Celine, I've been taking Korean lessons, wanted to surprise you. Guess the surprise is on me." Minji stood, guilt written across her features. "I should go. No, stay. I want witnesses." Celine turned to him, and her eyes were weapons. "You brought your cousin into our home. Let me believe I was being replaced. Watched me shrink. Watched me doubt myself. Let your mother praise her while dismissing me. All to what? Test me?" He stood. "You texted another man." She stepped forward. "I sent one text to someone who used to care about me because my husband treats me like furniture. And your response was to emotionally torture me for 2 weeks?" Minji spoke quietly. "I told you this was wrong." "Leave us," he said. "No, she stays. She deserves to see what kind of man you really are." He stopped, his jaw working. "I saw his message. I saw him say he still thinks about you, and He stopped. "You what?" I panicked. Her laugh was bitter, sharp enough to draw blood. "You panicked. So you decided to make me feel worthless. To make me feel like I don't belong, like I'll never belong. I needed to know if you'd care, if this marriage meant anything to you." Her truth came out steady, final. "It did, past tense, because you just showed me that even when you're afraid of losing me, your first instinct isn't love, it's control. I'm done. Done with what? This. You, the tests, the games, the emotional manipulation disguised as protection." Panic rose in his voice. "You're not leaving." She was calm, final. "Watch me. I'd rather be alone in a country where I'm a foreigner than stay in a marriage where I'm a stranger." She walked to the stairs. "If you leave, you break the contract, your family's debt returns, your father's business collapses." She stopped, turned. "Then let it collapse. I'd rather owe money than owe myself to you." She left. Minji looked at him, disappointment etched in every line of her face. "I hope it was worth it, cousin. She was trying, every day, and you were too blind to see it." She left, too. He was alone. For the first time, he realized control had just cost him everything. She didn't come home that night, or the next, or the one after that. By week 1, he'd sent men to find her. They reported back within hours. Small apartment across town, safe, alone. He didn't force her back. Couldn't. Because forcing her would prove she was right about everything. The first night alone, he walked past her bedroom door. It was open, like she'd been erasing herself from his life with deliberate precision. The bed was made, untouched, perfect. A journal sat on the nightstand, forgotten or left behind intentionally. He couldn't tell which. He picked it up, opened to a random page, and what he read made his chest feel like someone had reached inside and squeezed. Week 8. I made his favorite dish today. He didn't come home. I ate alone again. I'm starting to forget what it feels like to matter to someone. He turned the page, hands shaking. Week 10. His mother said, I'll never understand their world. She's right, but not for the reasons she thinks. I don't understand how a world this cold can produce someone I still want to reach. Another page, week 11. I wonder if he knows I cry. Probably not. He'd have to look at me to notice. He sat on her bed until sunrise, reading every entry, watching her break in slow motion through words she never thought he'd see. She'd been drowning the whole time, and he'd been too busy building walls to notice she was going under. Week 2 brought a different kind of torture. A woman approached him at an exclusive club, a beautiful socialite with practiced charm and calculated interest. She flirted, leaned close, and touched his arm. He physically recoiled like she'd burned him. His brother Jae Sung noticed. When's the last time you don't? Everyone's talking. They're saying the foreign wife left. That you couldn't handle. His voice went deadly quiet. Say one more word about her, and I'll forget you're my brother. The problem was simple and impossible. Every woman he saw, he compared. Wrong laugh, wrong walk, wrong everything. Because they weren't her, because none of them had her strength, her grace under pressure, her quiet dignity in a world designed to crush her. None of them had tried to make a home in his cold world when he gave them nothing but frost and distance. Week 3, he started dismantling his old life piece by piece. Fired his security chief, the one who'd suggested surveillance on her. Pulled out of a marriage alliance deal his father had been orchestrating for months. Stopped attending his mother's weekly dinners because she kept criticizing Celine in her absence, as if distance made cruelty acceptable. Minji visited on a Tuesday. You look like hell. I feel worse. Good. You deserve it. Pause. She's learning to navigate the city alone, going to therapy, building a life without you. His heart clenched. How do you know? Because, unlike you, I actually care about her. Week 4, he sat in his office staring at the contract, their marriage license, 2 names that looked foreign next to each other. Im Woo-jin. Celine Michael. She'd come to a foreign country, tried to build a life in a world that rejected her at every turn, and he was supposed to be her safe place. Instead, he'd become another person who made her feel like she didn't belong. He burned the contract. The legal marriage still stood, but the arrangement died in smoke and ash. Week 5, he sent a text. Dinner. Friday, 7 p.m., neutral location. Your choice of restaurant. 3 hours passed before she responded. Why? Because I need to say something and I'd rather you hear it than wonder. Fine, but I'm bringing someone. His heart stopped. Who? My lawyer. You don't need a lawyer. I need witnesses so that you won't manipulate me again. Fair. Friday came. He arrived early at the small private restaurant she'd chosen. deliberately selecting her comfort over his power. No guards, no backup. He wore a casual sweater instead of a suit, the first time she'd seen him vulnerable in public. She arrived with her lawyer, an older woman with sharp eyes and sharper instincts. He was already seated, alone, looking smaller somehow without his armor. "You have 30 minutes, she said. "I'll only need 10. He didn't waste time on the preamble. "I was taught that love is weakness, that caring about someone gives them power over you. So when I was told to marry you, I decided the safest thing was to feel nothing." She stayed silent, watching him with those intelligent eyes that had haunted him for months. "But then you moved into my home, and you were kind to my staff, spoke to them like humans, not servants. And you read in the garden, and you tried to make that house feel like a home. And I started noticing that you were there, that you existed in my space and I didn't hate it, that you made my house feel less empty, and that terrified me." He paused, gathering courage he didn't know he possessed. "So I avoided you. I told myself if I never let you in, I'd never lose control. I thought I was protecting myself." Longer pause. "Then I saw that text, and I realized I'd already lost control. Because the idea of you wanting someone else made me want to burn the world down." "So you brought Minji in," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "I did, and it was cruel, and it was manipulative. And it was the action of a man who has no idea how to process fear except through power." He leaned forward, and something in his expression shifted. "I'm not here to win you back. I'm here to tell you that you were right about all of it." "Right about what?" "That I can't love someone I'm trying to control. That marriage without respect is just captivity. That I—" His voice broke. "That I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me because I was too afraid to admit you mattered." He pulled out a folded paper, his handwriting covering it. "I found your journal. I read it. All of it." She stiffened. "You had no right—" "I know. And I'm sorry, but I needed to understand, and what I read—" He read from his notes. "Week 8, you wrote that you made my favorite dish. I didn't even know you knew what it was. I was in a meeting I didn't need to be in. Week 10, you wrote that you were forgetting what it felt like to matter. You mattered. You matter. I was just too much of a coward to admit it. Week 11, you asked if I knew you cried. I didn't, because I was too busy running from the fact that seeing you hurt would destroy me." He set the paper down carefully, like it was something precious. "You tried, every single day, and I was too blind to see it." After a long silence, she spoke. "If, and this is a massive if, anything were to exist between us going forward, these are my conditions." She pulled out a handwritten list and began reading. "No more tests. If you have a question, ask me. Don't manipulate me into answering. No surveillance. I will not be tracked, followed, or monitored. No control over my relationships. If I want to talk to an old friend, that's my choice. Therapy, for you, non-negotiable, and I want proof. Separate homes until I decide, if I decide, to come back. Total transparency. No more business meetings that are just avoidance. My career. I'm going back to work. You don't get a say. Respect in front of your family. You defend me or I walk." "Done," he said without hesitation. "You didn't even think about it." "I don't need to. You're right about everything." She turned to her lawyer. "Did you get all that?" "Recorded and witnessed. If you violate any of these, I'm gone, permanently." "Understood." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. She tensed, but he held up a hand. "It's not what you think." He opened it. Inside was a simple silver ring, no diamond, just a band with small engraving. He handed it to her so she could read it. Engraved, "Your terms." This isn't an engagement ring or a claim, it's a promise that if you ever choose to give me another chance, I'll spend every day proving I've changed. Not to own you, but to deserve you. He didn't put it on her finger. He set it on the table between them, leaving the choice entirely hers. "I need time," she said. "Take all the time you need. I'll wait, even if it takes years." "Why?" "Because you're worth waiting for." She stood, leaving the ring on the table. But she didn't say no, and that small absence felt like hope. Months passed. She watched from a distance as he changed, piece by piece. Minji sent proof. Signed consent forms from his therapist. He restructured M-Group, moving away from coercion toward legitimacy. He visited her parents, apologized to her father in person for disrespecting their daughter. He publicly corrected his mother when she made a dismissive comment about foreign women. He didn't contact her except for one text per week. Week 6. Started therapy. It's harder than I thought, but necessary. Week 8. Told my father I won't participate in arranged marriages in our organization anymore. He's angry. I don't care. Week 10. I funded that restaurant you love. Second location opens next month. Thought you'd want to know. Week 12. I miss you, not as my wife, as Celine, the woman who tried to make a home in my cold world. She didn't respond, but she didn't block him either. And she kept the ring in her pocket, a weight she carried everywhere. Month 5, she called. He answered immediately. "Hello. I want to see the changes, not hear about them." "When? Now?" She came to the penthouse and found a museum of transformation. Her bedroom was exactly as she'd left it, but fresh flowers appeared every week. The staff told her he ordered them himself. His bedroom was empty. "Couldn't sleep in there after you left?" "It smelled like your perfume," he explained. The dining room had only one chair at the massive table. Couldn't pretend the others were filled. His office was stripped bare. Photos of business conquests removed, replaced by a single photo of her reading in the garden, one she didn't know he'd taken. The kitchen held evidence of recipe attempts, most looking terrible. "I've been trying to learn to cook. I'm bad at it, but I'm trying." "Where do you sleep?" she asked. "Mostly I don't." She believed him. He looked exhausted, thinner, like a man who'd been fighting battles that left no visible scars. "Why did you really ask me to come here?" "Because I've spent 5 months proving to everyone else I've changed, but the only person who matters is you, and I needed you to see that I'm not the same man who hurt you." "People don't change that fast." "You're right, I'm not changed. I'm changing, every day, and some days I fail. But I'm trying, and I'll keep trying whether you come back or not." "Why?" "Because you were right, and living the way I was living, it wasn't living. It was just existing in fear." She walked to the living room and saw the small box on the table. The ring. Still there, waiting. "You kept it here? In case you ever wanted it, I look at it every morning. Reminder of what I'm working toward." She picked it up, read the engraving again. Then she slid it onto her finger. His breath caught. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm willing to try, slowly, on my terms. Anything you want. I'm not moving back in yet." "Okay. We're starting from the beginning, like we just met. I'd like that. And if you ever test me again, I won't. You have my word, and I'm learning that my word needs to mean something." She smiled, small but real. "Then take me to dinner, a real one, where you actually talk to me." His answering smile was cautious, hopeful. "I would be honored to take you to dinner, Celine." 6 months later, they stood in a private garden in autumn with only 15 people watching. Her parents, his mother, who'd publicly apologized, his father grudgingly attending, Minji as maid of honor, her lawyer, now a friend, an officiant, a few close friends from both cultures. No contracts, no negotiations, no strategy, just two people choosing each other. His vows came first. I can't promise I'll be perfect. I can't promise I won't mess up. But I can promise that I will never again confuse control with love. That I will choose you every day not because I have to, but because I want to. Because you are not an arrangement. You are my partner, and I am honored to be yours. She spoke next. I choose you, knowing exactly who you were and who you're becoming. I choose you, knowing it's not easy and it won't always be smooth. But I choose you because you proved that people can change when they want to badly enough. And because I'd rather build something real with you than live in the safety of never trying. The kiss was soft, gentle, mutual, no possession, no dominance, just love. The small crowd cheered, and for the first time in his life, he understood what home felt like. 18 months later, she found out at a clinic, came home to their newly shared penthouse where he was cooking, badly but trying. We need to talk. He turned, concerned. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm pregnant. He froze. The spatula clattered to the floor. We are? Really? Yes. His reaction wasn't strategic calculation or fear about how this affected the business. Just pure, unfiltered joy. He crossed the kitchen, dropped to his knees, pressed his forehead to her stomach. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For giving me a chance to be better than my father. For trusting me with this. Their daughter arrived on a spring morning. Amara, meaning grace. In the private hospital room that first night, he held her, tiny and perfect and terrifying. You okay? Celine asked from the bed. I've led hostile takeovers, negotiated with dangerous people, survived 3 assassination attempts, and I've never been more scared in my life. Good, it means you care. He looked at his daughter, then at his wife. I don't know how to do this, be a father. Neither do I, be a mother. We'll figure it out together. Together. He kissed his daughter's forehead, then his wife's. I love you. Both of you, so much it scares me. Good, you should be scared. It means it's real. 5 years later, at Amara's birthday party in their backyard, laughter and music filled the air. Children played, while adults from 2 cultures mingled easily. The barriers that once seemed insurmountable, now just stories they told. Amara sat on his shoulders. Daddy, tell the story again. Which story? How you and Mommy fell in love. He looked at Celine and smiled. That's a long story, Princess. The short version. Okay, once upon a time there was a very foolish man who didn't know how to love, and then he met a very brave woman who taught him. Celine walked over. That's not how I remember it. How do you remember it, Mommy? I remember a man who was scared, and a woman who was tired, and 2 people who decided that love was worth fighting for. Did you fight a lot? They answered together. Yes. But you're happy now? He looked at his wife, and everything he felt was written in his expression. Happier than I ever thought possible. Me too, Celine said. Good, now can we have cake? Laughter erupted. As the celebration continued around them, he pulled Celine close, Amara still on his shoulders forming a bridge between them. A family, not perfect, but real, built on choice, not ownership. And that was the happy ending neither of them knew they needed until they fought for it together. So, that's it, lovelies. He tried to own her. She chose herself. And in losing her, he learned what he should have known from the beginning. You can't possess someone into loving you. You can only become someone worth choosing. Every single day. That's not romance, that's work, that's respect, that's real. And that's the only happy ending that ever mattered. If you love dark romance stories where boundaries matter and power is challenged, subscribe now. And comment below. Did he deserve another chance?